Good morning, everyone. This is José Allard talking. Uh, I'm here with Security, and we would like to share uh, her ongoing research. It's part of her thesis, her design thesis, and we are very pleased to share with you some of the insights of this ongoing research. The name of this presentation is Waiting Time at Transantiago's Bus Stops as a Space for Information Creation and Exchange. Hopefully this will work. The slide is not moving. Okay. This is a PDF presentation. So first, it's important we approach this as part of ongoing research we have been doing at school design at Universidad Católica, working with using a user-centered design approach, especially focusing on users of Transantiago. We have been also reading some research and papers, and it's interesting that most of the research on waiting time concentrate on in-vehicle travel time, and for that reason, we were interested in approach what happened in bus stops. Santiago, Chile public transportation system, usually known as Transantiago, has a daily demand of probably more than 3 million users who mainly access to the network through one of the 11,000 bus stops spread out through the city. Transantiago's users' satisfaction rate is still pretty low, 4.6 in a scale from 1 to 7, and waiting time at bus stop is considered a main factor in modeling the perception of the system. This project explores how users' perception of waiting time at bus stop can change designing intervention that trigger participative interaction through different information platforms. Information generation and its exchange is considered here as a mechanism for adding value to the waiting time experience. So the waiting time experience, which is usually considered as a loss of time, can be transformed into an active and valuable action where many activities and interaction can occur. Through different design methods, we will share the observation process of transport users while they wait in a particular bus stop, the behavior and interaction. We will also present some intervention and tests which provide valuable insight for further solution and application. It's important, we are not transport engineers, we are designers. The focus of this school is a user-centered approach. For that reason, we also use a lot of ethnographic techniques in order to approach our users. For example, participant observation, interaction with community study, informal conversation, participation to community life, analysis of artifacts. Also, we do a lot of in-depth interviews with open or semi-open-ended questions. This let us get some insights that will further let us also make some design interventions. So our approach, I will say, is a little speculative in terms that what we look is what if questions. What if we make some improvements in the space, or if we trigger users to do some things that are not usual for them. And looking and observing those interaction, we also let us also take decision for further designs of products or services. Waiting in a bus stop usually has two main conditions. One is a physical factor, we will say spatial. In the case of Transantiago, more than 11,000 bus stops. Also, the signage. Basically, I would say all bus stops, Transantiago bus stop has already a signage that is keep. I would say it's probably the main information interface user has to approach the system. And also shelters. Transantiago's shelters is a combination of county private shelters and Transantiago's shelters. Transantiago's shelters has a standard, the one that you see on the pictures. It's a very basic shelter. The second variable or factor is a psychological one. It's time. Waiting time Transantiago bus stop, as I said before, is an important aspect of the negative evaluation of the system. And according to a recent research, it's also an ongoing research done by Professor Koyman and some of his students, engineer students. Transantiago's user perception of waiting time in a bus stop is 2.26 times the actual time they spend waiting. So if we can approach these issues, I think, or reducing this perception, we hope we could also produce a better perception of the system. The design intervention in both condition, spatial and time, were considered in this study a little unrealistic for this project, since modifying both bus services frequency and public infrastructure was out of our possibilities. So an important insight which came out after observing for more than 6 months a bus stop was a third condition that we call social factor. That means people behavior and the interaction while they are waiting for a bus. So we concentrate in this factor, and most of our observation and intervention for this study focused in this aspect. Among the aspects triggered through simple intervention on bus stop were games, exercise, information exchange. Perhaps one of the most intriguing outcomes from this intervention was the disposition of users to generate and share information. That was something that we were really surprised. While people tell us users will just you will get a lot of vandalism if you put something in the shelter. We perceived the opposite. People were really willing to generate and construct instead of destroy. Here are some examples. For example, we put some very simple exercises. We put some piece of paper with very basic questions such as which song are you listening now? Or which movie or which picture will you see 1,000 times? And the answers were quite surprising, and people were really interested in contributing with their opinions. So here is where we saw an opportunity. How could we take advantage or add value from the generation and exchange of this information? In other words, can we approach the bus stop as a channel for public opinion? Is it possible to transform the bus stop as an opportunity to empower people while they wait? Could we use this information to compensate or reward transport users for the waiting time? So we saw the opportunity to use this information obtained from Transantiago's user, uh, information that could be considered qualitative and also quantitative, as a source of straw polls that could have a value for someone. Perhaps Transantiago itself as a system, but also why not a county, a municipality, or private companies. So now we're going to share with you a video that is a sample of some of the exercise and the intervention we did in some bus stops. Just a second, please. So here, for instance, this is the exercise we present before. This is another one where we trigger participation through a question. For instance, do you know what is the financial reform the government is pursuing in Chile? Very simple intervention, very analog intervention. Pencil, papers, and what was really amazing of this intervention is that many people lose their buses because they were writing. They were taking pictures. We also include in some of these exercises Facebook account, and it was also very interesting how people send their feedback using their smartphones. We did this exercise in different bus stops with different users at different times. So the reaction during rush hour was different than the ones in other hours of the day. They were taking this seriously, and they were really applauding the. For instance, this is the kid who almost lost the bus because he was writing. They also, since they were looking backward, they almost lose the bus. So in general, we perceive that it was a willingness of contributing or to give their opinion. Many times we listen that citizens are not considered by the public institutions, and since we gave a little bit of formal, we put a logotype and we put, it seems that to be not just a joke, but it seems to be a part of a formal campaign. So they were really willing to participate. Then we did another exercise with cellular phones. This was interesting because we realized that most of Transantiago's users already has smartphones. So this was an exercise that we wanted to know if they were willing to answer SMS questions. And we gave them, if they answer this SMS, they will get an incentive. That means a beep card is our card, our transport card. So we put posters which says if they would like to get a beep card with 1,000 pesos. And if they wanted to get right away, they had to send a message to Sophia's telephone number. And Sophia, when Sophia got the SMS from these users, these passengers, she answered, go to the girls in black and she will give you this beep card with 1,000 pesos. So we also, one of the insights we got from this exercise that people will use their cellular phones and they will answer questions if they get some incentives. No, and the other surprise is that it was not only the answers were not coming only from young people, but also from old people. I mean, we will realize that the massification of cellular phones is quite broad. And of course, they were really happy to have 1,000 pesos in their Vipca.
Very happy.
Very happy. Okay, this was just an example of some of the intervention we did. So let's continue. Okay. So after these insights, we were wondering how could we take advantage of all these enthusiasts, users enthusiasts to cooperate with their opinion. And we were looking for some references which already use points as reward for people who are waiting in a bus stop. This is particular case we saw in Singapore, which was an incentive for people to use transport in not in valley periods. We don't really know how this project ended, since it was a pilot, but the outcomes we know is that it was pretty positive. So our project, so we decided to create a project called Dilo al Beep. That means tell to the beep. Beep is again is our car, our transport car, like the oyster. And Dilo means tell to the beep. What is Dilo al Beep? It's a platform which intermediates between Transantiago's users and public-private institution. It is based on information generated by common people while waiting for a bus. Answering question, user will receive reward points, which will compensate their waiting time. So this is the way digital beeps work. We have our users, our transport users waiting in the bus stop. Then, since we will have Wi-Fi in this bus stop, and Transantiago, or perhaps a private entity, will send them a question to the people who already have signed to be part of this project. They will, for instance, questions like, you prefer this soccer player or this other one, or perhaps you prefer Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Users will answer this question to this institution. This institution will process. They will first. So sorry. They will send the answer. They will get these points or these rewards that they can immediately use to charge their beep card. This institution will process the information, and they will be able to use it for several purposes. The idea, our main idea, is that hopefully this information could return in some way to this particular, the users of this particular shelter, a bus stop. Since each of the shelter is already geo-referenced, we will be able also to send particular information linked to that particular shelter. This is the idea. So we can be, I mean, if you are the county manager of one of these counties, you will be able to send particular information to that neighborhood or something like that. The same thing with a company which is interested in creating or to build a new branch. So this is the idea of that each of the bus stop will have particular question for their users. This is the first prototype of the app, Dealer Beep. It's a unique service that will give you points for knowing your opinion while you're waiting a bus. So first you have to become a member of this network, or this, and you have to give your beep number that will let you charge easily the points into your beep card later. So Andrea Carrasco, this new member, she's a beginner, and she get 50 beep points just to become a member, and so she has these different features. She can answer questions, she can see how the rewards, she can also give some opinions about the service or about the neighborhood. She can also receive news, and she can also buy some stuff with these points, not only credit for transport, but also other kind of awards. So, for instance, this is a question coming from Municipalidad de Recoleta. According to the new urban plan for La Paz Avenue, do you want, will you prefer we will construct commercial stores, housing, office buildings, house low density house, or none of the other? So this could be one of the questions. In this case, it's a question coming from a local county. When you answer, you immediately will receive a feedback. We think something people will appreciate is to receive a feedback, immediate feedback of how people from the same neighborhood or same area or the same shelter things. And you will receive an answer. You has already get 1 bit point. We are still processing, or we're thinking if a bit point is equivalent to a peso or not. It's part of the things we have to still test. So these are the kind of rewards you can get through this bit point. It's important to let you know that Transantiago is already launching a BIP club, but we think that perhaps this project could be part of that club. So you will be able also to, as I said before, to charge these BIP points into your as credit for your. And again, this is the kind of interface we are working. You will also be able to get custom news according to the bus stop you are. And for example, this is a question from Transantiago. What is your opinion about the frequency of the service 223? So Transantiago will be able also to get immediate feedback from users. Some partial conclusion. Well, as I said before, and I think my English is not working very good this morning. But as I said before, this is an ongoing project. We still have to test the application, the app, and many other things. But so far, we think through different exercises and the intervention, we were able to demonstrate a positive change in user disposition toward the generation and exchange of valuable opinion while they were waiting for a bus. So we perceived that people were willing to participate instead of the perception we observe of people waiting with very bored faces. And another preliminary conclusion is a preliminary insight from this ongoing project shows how time perception can be reduced in bus stop engaging transport user in different activities. As we saw in the video, some kids and some users almost lose their service because they wanted to finish their opinion. And perhaps one of the most important further exercises and development should be conducted in order to evaluate the value of the data gathered from users and economical models that could provide incentives or compensation for the time they wait at the bus stop. Next step is a pilot project that must be conducted in order to measure the reduction of time perception and the general evaluation of the transport system through this project or service. This is something that I think is relevant if we're able to demonstrate that through this kind of service you can reduce the perception of time and at the same time increase the perception or improve the perception of the transport system. It could be an incredible contribution to the system. Thank you very much. I hope it was clear enough. And if not, hopefully the slide will help in that purpose. I don't know if there are some questions. And again, I must say thanks to Sofia, who's in my left. She has spent almost 6 months on the street observing and sharing with users and and Transantiago's workers who are in these bus stops. So it's important to say thanks to her, because otherwise this intervention wouldn't be able to happen.
Well, we wait a few minutes, so if there's any questions, please. I have a particular questions. You mentioned about the useful of these tools for diminishing the perception of the cost for the waiting times, but I have to mention that almost a month ago there was a fire in the electrical system of Metro, and then there was a big problem because two main lines of the metro system were stopped. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the major problems in that particular day is that there was a lot of confusion in the users. The users don't know the impact of this failure. For example, they were waiting on a particular bus stop, and people of the metro tell them that there were auxiliary buses to clone the metro lines, but the people moved to this particular stop, and there were no buses in that stop. So maybe that can be a potential use of these tools. I don't know if it's reasonable to use, and maybe to change the choices of the users, or maybe the impact in the transit system.
Well, as we said before, the idea of the project is to generate a platform, a communication platform. That's probably the first goal. How users can give their opinion and they can get feedback from Transantiago or the government. Later, looking for probably a model, a business, economical model, we thought that this platform could include this kind of incentive questions. But you are right. The first idea is to create a communication platform from users, Transantiago users, directly to the transport authorities, and at the same time, how the information they provide or the data they provide can become useful information, not only for the authorities, but also for the users. Do you have something to say? We are reading now a question from Álvaro Guzmán. Have you talked with Transantiago operators about how this information can help them to improve the efficiency of the transport system?
en el sentido que como la información es temporal y georreferenciada, van teniendo datos al tiro y eso les puede servir para regular los servicios.
Well, I'm talking with Sofia, and she has been in contact with people from Transantiago. They say since the information is in real time and is referentiated, it could be a channel to contrast service frequency. So we are in conversation with Transantiago, but we must say that since this is still a prototype, I think we still have to test many things and probably do many iterations with the interface and with the system. So, but we're looking for doing a larger pilot with Transantiago. Here's another question from Marcus Niehaus. It will be very interesting to know the impact on time perception you mentioned. What kind of methodology are you planning to measure this? Well, as far as I know, Professor Enrique Koyman from the School of Transport Engineer at the Universidad Católica is working with a group of engineer students and sociologists in creating this tool to measure the time perception. As I understand, this research has not been published yet, but is in process of being published. So I will prefer Professor Koyman or some of these students to answer that question.
Another topic for another webinar session.
Sophia is telling me that as far as she knows, the system is quite basic. They ask users who are waiting in the bus stop, and at the same time they are taking time with a chronometer, and they compare the answer, the opinion, I mean, with the time they get with this clock. But again, I would prefer to leave this answer to Professor Koyman and his group. Let me see if there's another question. But it is a really crucial insight for our project to be able to have an objective number, a methodology that could let us contrast the time perception without our platform and with our platform. I would say it's probably the most crucial part of our proposal. So Sophia is working already with this group of engineering in this aspect. Nothing else to add?
Tal vez como esto de que el paradero dentro como el espacio público pueda reflejar la identidad de la gente que pasa por ahí. Que tiene como un factor como desde la sociología interesante.
Another aspect Sophia is interested in further intervention is how the bus shelter or the bus stop can create its own identity through the users who use that bus stop, how this platform can help authorities or even users to connect each other and improve the condition, for instance, of the shelter. So this sociological phenomena that can be triggered by this kind of intervention that we also would like to explore. For instance, many people who wait in the same bus stop don't know each other. So perhaps sharing information, local information, could let users empatizar, get in contact or understand better the behavior of users. Again, I would love to apologize because my English today is not really flowing.
And well, I have one last question. At least someone else make another question. But do all the pilots were successful? I mean, in the video we can see that people were smiling, answering these questions. But did you find some people that are not willing, or maybe that they steal the pens that you put in the stops or not?
El 99% fue positivo. Nadie se robó ningún lápiz, no se robó.
I think that it was one of the most surprising insight we got from this exercise. The willingness of people to construct in a space that usually you think people would like to destroy.
Because you can see in the walls behind the stops.
Exactly. So that probably is part of also a further sociological study. But I think if you gave people the chance to participate or give their opinion, they will appreciate that platform. Of course, not all the answers were serious or were responsible, but some of them were also quite creative. I remember a poem someone wrote.
A lot of love messages.
Sophia said that there were a lot of love messages. So I think if we can also create a platform where people can share positive feelings, I think it could be a great contribution for the city, and also, why not, for the transport system. So thank you very much to all of you. I don't know how many are still there. And if you have any question, or if you would like to please share with us your opinion, or if you want to get involved in this project, we need support and we need help from different disciplines. So we are open. And again, thank you, Sophia, and thank you to Omar for your technical support.
No, thank you.